Hi everyone. Today I'm talking about INFJs and control issues. This is a topic that comes up so often in all my classes. Doesn't matter if I'm teaching on writing or creativity or an INFJ specialized class. At some point or another, this comes up that INFJs have control issues. Now, INFJ personality types have a really interesting combination of traits. On the one side, we are very accommodating. This is usually the side we show to the public. This is our social side. This is the side most people see of us in the workplace. So if you ask an INFJ's friends and family, a lot of times they will say that the INFJ is very agreeable, very accommodating. And this is true because we try to keep the peace and we're always trying to facilitate harmony. We are at the greatest peace when everyone else around us is happy and is in harmony. We're harmonizers. So we're always seeking for greater harmony. What this means is that a lot of times we will put others' needs ahead of our own, sometimes compulsively. We don't need to think about it. It's not a choice we make. We just automatically do it. Now, on the other side of this, INFJs are actually very controlling. We are not controlling in the way that we want to control other people. We don't want to control the choices of other people. We're not the jealous type or the possessive type. Not to say that we can't be like that, but that's not really what I'm talking about when I'm talking about INFJs being controlling. We're not really trying to control other people. We are more trying to control our environment and the way things unfold in our environments and in our lives. So we do this for two reasons. There's two really deep reasons behind the subconscious controlling nature and behavior of INFJs. So the first one is, number one, we have problems trusting others. This is a really core issue for a lot of INFJs. I would say even most INFJs have this issue. We have a lot of problems trusting others. Although we crave connection, which we do, we love connection with other people, we love deep, meaningful conversations, we really like to bond with people one-on-one, we also tend to be terrified of intimacy. This is another interesting combination because we're terrified of intimacy, but we also tend to be very emotionally intelligent people. So this usually doesn't come as a surprise to most INFJs. Most INFJs know that they have intimacy and trust issues. That is self-evident to us. However, we don't usually see how it's linked to us being controlling. So the way this works is because we're uncomfortable with intimacy, because we crave connection, but we have these trust issues, we show up in relationships in a way where we don't want to show too much. We don't want to expose too much of ourselves. We will tend to listen to the other person a lot. We will tend to coax the other person out into the open, really get to know them, get to know their deep, dark issues, and not share so much of ourselves, not share so much of our deep, dark issues. So we will employ a few different tactics to keep people at a distance. One of those is we're always the listener, right? We're always the listener. We don't share. We don't open up. So the person does feel close to us, but if they really examined the relationship, they would see that maybe we're not as close as they think we are because we still have our walls up. The INFJ tends to keep their walls up even when other people are sharing personal information with them, even when there is an intimate connection. Another way this manifests is INFJs don't really trust people to do it the right way. So this comes out in workplaces. A lot of times INFJs will take on too much and they will take on tasks that are not theirs, that are not in their job description. They will try to help their coworkers. They may end up wearing a lot of different hats where they don't need to wear all those different hats. This is really because we don't trust others to do it the right way. So in our minds, we think, well, I'll just do it for them. It'll be quicker. It'll be easier. I'll do it the right way. I won't have to clean up the mess later. So this is actually more efficient to me. So we become controlling about tasks, right? We try to take other people's tasks from them. We try to intervene. We try to help a lot. And a lot of times we are helpful. However, we're also controlling because we're trying to do it the right way, which means our way, really. We share this trait actually with INTJs. This is one realm in which INTJs and INFJs tend to get along very well, although we can butt heads with an INTJ if we're fighting for control of the tasks. INTJs have the same issue where they don't trust people to do things the right way. So they just think, well, I'll do it, and then I'll know it'll be done the right way, and I won't have to redo it later. INFJs have this as well. The second reason that we're controlling, the second root cause, the root issue, INFJs are highly sensitive people. And I would even go so far as to say INFJs are highly, highly sensitive people. We are extremely sensitive to our environments. This means we are extremely sensitive to any kind of chaos in our environment, any kind of upset. So we tend to be rigid about our environments because we get distracted very easily. We don't deal well with interruptions. We don't deal well with loud noises, sudden noises, strong smells, people coming in and out of the room, people talking around us, all of that stuff. It not only distracts us, it can cause us to become very irritable. It can sort of fry out our nervous system. So we do tend to be rigid about our environments and our surroundings. We tend to be rigid about the placement of objects, our objects, the objects that belong to us. So we will be very controlling about how our desk looks, or our set of drawers, right, or our collection of books. We have things usually organized in a way that is unique to us. So somebody might look at our desk and say, well, it looks kind of messy. Or they might look at our book collection and say, well, it's not in alphabetical order. But that does not mean that the INFJ doesn't have it in a particular order or organized in a particular way that works for them. And we don't want our things moved. We can get very upset if our things are moved or messed with. Same thing with order of tasks. We want to do things in a certain way. When we're working on a project, we will usually break things down into steps. The steps will not always be in linear order. They will be in an order that makes sense to us, and we will be very rigid about wanting to do it in that order. So this is fine if we're working on our own, but when we're working in a workplace, on a team of people, in a group study situation, this can cause problems. Personal rituals. This is another way we do this. We tend to be very rigid about our personal rituals. This really stems from the fact that it takes a lot of energy for INFJs to be fully in the concrete world, to be fully in the physical environment, to be noticing a lot of visual details, to be fully plugged into what's happening here. Because we are so intuitive, we tend to only be half here. So we have to make a real effort to deal with real world physical stuff. This is the same thing for INFPs. INFPs have to make a real effort to deal with real world physical stuff. For INFJs, the way we handle it is we tend to come up with systems so we can handle our everyday physical world stuff. We memorize those systems, and then we do not deviate from those systems. So you will see INFJs who have very rigid morning routines. I always shower, and then I brush my teeth, and then I take my vitamins, and I take these specific vitamins, and then I put my socks on. Like, they have a whole rigid order to the way they do things. We will be very rigid about meal times, what we eat at meals, bedtime routines. Any time of the day where there's a routine going on, INFJs can get really rigid. Exercise routines, any sort of workout or exercise routine. We will even do this if we're meeting people out for coffee or lunch. INFJs tend to research beforehand. So if we're going to a new cafe or a new restaurant, we will look up the menu beforehand. We will decide what we're going to order, 4 days before we go meet them for dinner. We will look at the parking situation. We will find the parking garages nearby or street parking. We'll decide what we want to do there. We'll look up the route to drive there or the bus route to take. INFJs tend to really be planners like this. It can be helpful, but it can also be in a very rigid way. So if something happens to upset that plan, we can get very upset. Now, we do all of these things because we need these routines, like I said, to deal with physical reality and also to ground ourselves. Our routines and the way we have things organized, our own unique systems, that's grounding to us. And this can be helpful. I'm not suggesting that INFJs throw out all the systems and routines out of the window. That's not what I'm saying at all. But just be aware of it. Be aware that you are this way and that you can tend to be a little bit rigid about the way you do things. When we can be aware that, okay, I'm kind of rigid about planning out going to dinner to meet my friend, or my morning routine, or the way my desk is organized, we can also bring in greater flexibility so that if things change at the last minute, we can adjust to those changes a lot more smoothly, and we don't feel so upset, so agitated. We don't have so much anxiety come in that our whole apple cart has been upset because our routine was upset and things are not going the way we expected. So a lot of this is just the way we are. Like I said, we don't need to change things that radically. You don't need to become an entirely different type. I'm not suggesting you become this spontaneous, fluid, easy breezy creature that never needs to plan or look at a schedule, because that's not going to happen if you're an INFJ. But bringing in greater awareness of, okay, I have control issues. I can tend to be very upset if at the last minute things change. And once in a while, try to break out of the routine, right? Experiment with it. Not to say you have to give everybody access to your desk at work and they can, mess around with things as they want to, but switch up your morning routine or go to a restaurant without researching the menu beforehand, right? Like take little risks and make things open-ended in small ways so that you can experiment with flexibility, because that will help when you do land in those stressful situations and you have no choice but to be flexible. You will already have had practice sort of ungripping from your regular routines. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. That stuff really helps the channel and I really appreciate it. Please also subscribe to my newsletter. I send out so many things on the newsletter. I send frequent newsletters. I will warn anyone who signs up, but they're all pretty good. Classes, courses, book recommendations, references, all sorts of good stuff going on. So please sign up for my newsletter. I'd love to have you as part of my INFJ or INFP audience. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. I'll see you next time.